Yeah, Rob, it's really wonderful to have you. I've been looking forward to this conversation for really a long time. And I thought today we might talk a little bit about how you came to propose that we create this whole new style of art for Kamalaya when we did the upgrade this last year. We created these retreat buildings for retreats, and you decided to change the way you were painting, the way you've been painting the last many years, and suggest to move into this tantric art. And I was really excited about it, and I was thrilled to get involved in this. But this is an opportunity actually just to talk a little bit about it. And so maybe you'd like to share.
Well, when as I was designing the rooms, specifically retreat rooms in mind, although they turned out to be extremely pleasant rooms for any sort of purpose, but I thought it'd be nice to have the art not just decorative, but somehow reflect that spiritual side of Kamalaya and what will go on in these rooms, hopefully. And I'd always been attracted to tantric art, even though when I first went to India I had no idea what it was. And in fact it was only in the late 60s that it became known in the West. There was an exhibition done in the Hayward Gallery in London and in Paris in the late 60s on Tantra art.
Was that with Philip Rawson and
Ajit Mukherjee? It was basically Ajit Mukherjee's collection, which is now in the Delhi
National Museum. So, Rob, what is Tantra for you?
Yeah, it's such a huge... Actually, it's everything you see today of contemporary Buddhism, especially Northern Buddhism, Tibet, Mahayana Buddhism, China, Japan, Korea, and so on, is tantric, taken over from the early Hindu tantrics. And Hindu tantric, probably, it's not whether it's a percentage or not, but modern day Hinduism is really a combination of Tantra and Bhakti, the devotional side, combined with this internal meditative side of Hinduism. So it's sort of like saying, well, what's life to you?
Yes.
What is?
Well, if you're an Indian, if you're an Indian, that's how you look at it.
Yeah.
You don't say, I'm on a spiritual path. This is the path. You're living life to the fullest that you can.
Yeah.
And it's always an exploration. It always implies curiosity. It always implies trying to make better decisions and better use of your time.
And some Indians, some scholars say, well, there's no such thing as Tantra. Tantra as a word is just a Western invention for something that's just permeates everything. It's like, to try and separate it as a specific thing doesn't make sense to some scholars or some religious people also. And in urban India now, it's a bit like in the West, the idea of Tantra has been really trivialized. But for some modernized Indians, a Tantra mantra is like saying hocus pocus, abracadabra, this sort of thing, that sort of just implies some over-the-top magical thing. So it's a shame in a way.
Yes, but that Indian statement, Tantra, Mantra, Yantra, Tantra is the rituals, it's the practice, it's the going inside, and mantra is the sound, it's the prayer, and using vibration, and yantra is all the geometry, it's all the forms, all the shapes, it's the art,
all the artwork,
and all the objects that go along with it.
I think that's an important part of Tantra. Mostly it's done internally, where you bring those two opposites together of light and dark and pure and impure, male, female especially.
The tension of opposites.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In order to erase them in a way, or dissolve them.
Doing your practice at sunrise, so it's the time between the darkness and the light. At sunset, the time between the light and the darkness. All these kinds of metaphors that imply that you can find a crack between the worlds and into a bigger awareness.
And that's why most of the paintings will have, if it's a lingam, there'll also be a yoni there. Within the male, there'll be a female, and vice versa. And that just corresponds totally with contemporary psychology,
I'm totally for that. And also when we get to looking at the artworks, one of the things that's totally amazing about them is they're based on 4,000 and 5,000-year-old ideas, but they're totally contemporary.
Yeah.
You're a contemporary artist, they're completely contemporary. There you are, contemplating something that was said thousands and thousands of years ago in a tradition that's unbroken.
So this one but is nice because it combines all those three elements: earth, water, and in alchemy and in much of tantric worlds, the triangle, the upward pointing triangle, is fire. And that defines the shape we see in everything in Thailand with sachetis: square base, round dome, pointed triangle. Jotans in Tibet, stupas in India are all these basic forms. This one is very closely based on an ancient painting, Indian painting, a yantra. Whereas this one is much more free interpretation of a flaming lingam that Shiva manifested, his male energy. It filled the sky from earth to heavens.
Oh, of course. The green and the blue is perfect. Yeah, it's beautiful.
And the top one, of course, is really a yoni with a door and with the upward pointing triangle, which is, again, the male principle. Again, in the landscape, I got into this sensation of putting the paint onto the wet cloth and just love the way that it sort of bleeds much more delicately than watercolor in a way. Somehow with the watercolors it's not so controllable. With the cloth and the acrylic, you're able to control it more, but it still had that feeling of like a watercolor to me, so I felt more at home.
Yeah, but it's a beautiful leap. It's a huge change for you to go from watercolors all of those years and then suddenly to work with acrylics and other mediums. And the outcome is just so dramatic.
It's not that I'm stopping watercolors, I've just finished watercolors, but I really love the feel of these, and I'm experimenting with some other techniques also, so it's nice to be 70 and keep experimenting.